They're called amalgam fillings, and more than 100 million Americans to date have had them in their mouths. They're made of silver and other metals, but it's mercury that binds these fillings together and keeps them sturdy. Dentists have been using mercury in dental fillings for more than 150 years. But are they safe? It's a question that first sparked a firestorm 30 years ago, when major news reports brought to light the potential toxicity of mercury fillings. The concern? That these fillings may cause serious health problems, from memory loss to mood swings, anxiety, even autoimmune disorders. The American Dental Association insists your fillings are safe. But now, there's mounting new evidence showing mercury is released when you eat and drink, and even when you brush your teeth. According to one report, half of dentists surveyed no longer use them. And if they're inside your mouth, what should you do? I want everyone to take a look in the mirror right now, and if you see these silver, gray, or even black colored fillings in your teeth, that means you have mercury amalgams. It means you need to pay attention to this show. Joining me is integrative dentist Dr. Jerry Curatola. He has not used silver fillings containing mercury in over 20 years. Also, Dr. Jonathan Levine is an aesthetic dentist and member of this show's advisory board. He has not used fillings with mercury in over 16 years. The American Dental Association says fillings containing mercury are safe and pose no health threat. Dr. Curatola, you argue they have got it all wrong. Why is that?
And this is one of the most hotly contested conversations going on in dentistry today. And everyone really deserves to know the facts. There is an ongoing, growing body of research that has shown that mercury from silver fillings can be hazardous. So it's a conversation that really needs to move forward and not to stay in the past.
So how much dental amalgam is too much? I showed the audience images of what these look like. Is there a difference between having one filling that's with this amalgam, silver amalgam, or 10?
So we really don't know how much is dangerous. And this is where there's not enough controlled studies, but more need to be done. And the reality is that the more fillings you have, mercury vapor comes out. When I was in dental school, they used to believe in 1982, the ADA was saying that the mercury is locked in, magically locked in the filling. But we know now that there is mercury vapor. It's acknowledged. We just don't know how much really makes you sick.
So walk me through the types of symptoms that folks who believe they have poisoning from mercury in their amalgams might be experiencing. And I know there's some research on people who've actually had them removed showing improvement in these areas.
That's correct. Mercury is one of the most neurotoxic, that is damaging to our nervous systems on the planet. It also suppresses the immune system. So you have autoimmune disorders, fatigue, memory loss, migraines, even skin problems like psoriasis and eczema that have been linked in different studies to toxic exposure to mercury.
I know in medical school we're taught about classic mercury poisoning. Those are mostly neurologic. Can you walk me through, the things that no one can argue could be related to mercury poisoning?
Tremors, memory loss, focus, inability to concentrate. These are the most damaging. It's really extremely toxic to the central nervous system.
Right. So there are lots of alternatives now to fillings. There are many things dentists could be doing to avoid exposure even to themselves. Why is it that so many traditional dentists are still putting in these silver amalgam fillings?
I'm amazed that 47% of the dentists in the United States are still placing amalgam restorations. They're very inexpensive to do. They're easy, they're cheap, and we know that they've lasted in the mouth for a very long time. There are probably viewers right now who've had silver mercury fillings for 20 years or more.
I'm one of them. I got my share. Let me bring in Dr. Jonathan Levine. So, John, you argue there actually is not enough evidence, compelling evidence, correlating mercury as a major threat to our health. And yet, I reported earlier that even you have stopped using them in your practice. Why is that?
That's right. We stopped about 17, 18 years ago. There are just so many better restorative options. You're really looking at these white restorative materials that are tooth colored that actually help to hold the tooth together. But the evidence is conflicting. and there are questions about the science behind it.
Let me challenge you. There are some countries in Europe, for example, that have banned the use of amalgams. I mean, they wouldn't do that arbitrarily. It is a very commonly used, well-proven technique.
That's exactly right. In the Scandinavian countries, in 2008, they banned amalgams because of environmental and health purposes. Now, environmental is when you take out amalgams, and that's when the most amount of mercury is released, it can get into the water supply. There also were a number of studies that came out of Sweden that really showed some health risk with the mercury coming off the amalgams and offering up all of these problems that Dr. Curatola is talking about.
Walk me through exactly how the mercury gets out of the amalgams. I mean, we talked about this vaporization that was not known to even exist, you know, a few decades ago.
That's exactly right. So whenever the amalgam starts to wear, any type of contact, so imagine chewing, people who grind their teeth, people who have their factors that increase the amount of mercury vapor coming off, the amount of amalgams in your mouth. How old are they? You know, when they get older, they corrode, and the breakdown of that mercury vapor comes out much greater. Do you grind your teeth for a long period of time? Do you have carbonated sodas, which lowers the pH in the mouth and increases the amount of mercury? So there are a number of factors that actually can accelerate that amount of mercury, but they just haven't tested it enough to correlate it with these medical issues.
So I was doing my own homework on this, and mercury vapors rising out of the teeth, they're invisible to the eye. No one has ever seen them. But for the first time on television, for the first time ever, I'm going to show you what happens when you brush your teeth with mercury fillings. I'm going to get some help from a friend, Dave Wentz. I worked with Dave and his PhD dad a long time. Their company are big sponsors of Health Corps, which is the Children's Health Foundation. We were doing a program together, and I witnessed you do this demonstration with your father. It just blew me away. And I wanted you to bring it alive on stage today. So if you could, show us how this monitor and this little contraption you built can reveal to us what happens when we brush our teeth.
Okay, well what we have is a set of teeth with typical silver fillings in them, and we've contained it in this glove box with a special air filter to protect everyone in the room, so we don't have any mercury toxic element. We don't want it out.
And so what's the amount of mercury right now that's in this box?
We've ventilated it, we've used the filter to clear it out, so we're at 0 now.
Okay, so I'm going to put my hands in the glove so you can run the device. And here, just to point out, you built us a mouth here. Can we all see the mouth there? And what do you have in there? Those are amalgam fillings?
Yep. We've been told that when you mix mercury with silver, tin, copper, it becomes completely stable. No mercury vapor supposed to be released. And we're going to do a little demonstration to show how much is released.
So if I brush, for example, parts of the teeth that don't have any mercury, like here, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But you're arguing that if I brush down here, okay, go ahead, I'll start brushing now. Now, at what point should I be concerned? At what level is it, more than we're supposed to have?
Anything over 0 is toxic. So we're at 61.
Oh my goodness, 61?
61 micrograms.
Now, how can anyone dispute that mercury is coming off amalgams?
You really can't. You can't. It's happening. We have the devices, we have the technology to measure that mercury vapor, and we are well above the limits that you would want to be exposed to. That mercury is coming off the fillings into your mouth, going across the blood-brain barrier into your brain.
Thank you very much. And I saw this the first time, and I could not believe that it actually was revealing something that we've been disputing. You know, this is a science experiment, but it does conclusively, to me anyway, demonstrate that we do shed gas off mercury in ways that we don't want to when we brush our teeth. Now, of course, normally we don't measure it in the air in your mouth, although it's concerning that numbers you're not supposed to have in the air are found in your mouth in high doses.
Close space in your mouth.
When we would look in our urine oftentimes, which is how you would measure the amount of mercury. So I've got a guest here who actually believed that she had mercury toxicity from her amalgam filling. Dana, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet
You
you.
can come on down. You always want to be taller than me. So I'd love to hear your story. I'm intrigued by this because so many of us have amalgam filling. So what made you believe, actually what were your problems to begin with? And then what made you believe that mercury fillings were the cause of them?
Well, when I was younger, I had about 15 mercury amalgam fillings placed in my mouth. And as I got older, I started to have terrible tremors, hand tremors. I couldn't concentrate, and I thought I was losing my memory. I know it sounds crazy.
No, by the way, I hear these complaints from a lot of people. We just don't know why they're happening, which is why I'm so curious about this as a potential cause.
Right.
So how did you actually identify that you had mercury in your body? Did you do any of the tests that are available for that?
Yes, I did some urine testing.
And you had high levels of mercury?
Yes.
Did you have amalgams removed?
I had them removed, yes.
So then what happened?
Some of my symptoms went away immediately. Other symptoms have taken a while to dissipate. I'm still working on them.
Are you happy that you had the amalgams taken out?
Oh yes, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
You would do it again?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So despite the growing controversy about mercury and amalgam fillings, the official position of the American Dental Association is still that they are harmless. Again, this is a very strong group. They've done many wonderful things. So I wanted to hear from them. And here's what they said. They said dental amalgam is considered a safe, affordable, and durable material that has been used to restore the teeth of more than 100 million Americans and has established a record of safety and effectiveness. So coming up, if you're concerned about what you've heard so far, you may be asking, should I have my mercury fillings removed? The answer will truly surprise you. What's next?
Up next, should you have your...
You made the case that mercury in your fillings could be toxic and harmful to your health, which leads to the question everyone watching should be asking, should you have your mercury fillings taken out? Dr. Jonathan Levine and Dr. Jerry Curtola are back with us. So, Dr. Levine, what's your view? Should everyone go out there and start getting their amalgams taken out?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's all about the conversation that you're going to have with your dentist. If your restorations are old, there is potential decay underneath. The dentist has found out that there is decay under a radiograph. There's a space or a gap between the silver and the tooth, and there's structurally something wrong with the fillings. Well, then there's a rationale to change that filling. But when you're putting the material back in to restore, we really have better alternatives than amalgam that are safe.
Dr. Curtola, do you agree?
I totally agree. What everyone should know is that taking the fillings out also exposes you to the highest level of mercury vapor. So there are specific conditions that you should talk to your dentist about. Obviously, number one is decay, leaking margins, corrosion on old fillings. And then there are the others. Or do they have, if they have 8 or more fillings, they may want to have that conversation. They grind their teeth, acidic foods, sodas, things like that can increase the amount of vapor that's being emitted from the amalgam fillings.
All right. Dr. Levine, what are the best alternatives when you get that mercury amalgam removed, or if you have a cavity, instead of using a mercury amalgam?
So if you're taking out the silver filling, the direct restoratives, composite, which are tooth-colored restorative materials, is using adhesive dentistry, and you're actually bonding the tooth together so the tooth is actually stronger. With silver, it's a wedge technique, and that you're actually putting stresses on the tooth. So using composites doesn't have any potential health risk, and it's actually a better material. There's also laboratory fabricated restorations that can be done in porcelain and these new ceramics that allow us to do a very conservative tooth preparation, but also to restore the tooth and to structurally improve the tooth. So that, again, is a big advantage.
Here's an example for everybody who doesn't know what these look like. This is a porcelain restored tooth compared to a silver filling. You can see how the silver is sort of pushing the tooth apart and the porcelain pulls it back together again. I would gather that part of this debate is about money and the fact that these amalgams are a lot less expensive. So walk me through the cost differences for the average consumer.
So for the composite resins, they're about 20–25% more expensive than the silver fillings. For the laboratory process type restorations where you're taking an impression of the tooth and you're fabricating in the lab and then a second appointment to cement and to bond them in, it usually can be anywhere from $1,500 to even greater depending on where you live.
So money's an issue. So let me leave you all with my bottom line. I believe, based on what we know about the toxicity of mercury and the risks from mercury vapors from the fillings that contain it, that we should avoid using dental amalgams whenever possible. There are safer alternatives that work just as well and last just as long. All right, coming up, if your amalgam fillings are still in good condition, what should you do to reduce your mercury exposure? Up next, I've got the 3 simple things everybody can start doing today.
Up next, how to protect yourself. And this is easy.
Plus, it helps with the color of the teeth anyway.
Plus, the supplement.
For people with mercury fillings.
And later, women are going under the knife.
It's a drastic way to get back at their ex-husbands.
Plastic surgery divorce.
We're back with integrative dentist Dr. Jerry Curtola. He says there are 3 simple things you can do starting today to protect yourself if you have silver dental fillings. Now, I want to remind everybody, you can talk to your dentist about having amalgams removed if you have 8 or more fillings, corrosion or decay, or some of the symptoms of mercury toxicity that we've been talking about in this show. But Dr. Curto, how about for the rest of us? If you feel fine, if you don't have 8 fillings, what do you do to reduce the risk of having even a little bit of mercury in your body?
You know, Dr. Ross, there's 100 million Americans out there with silver fillings that may be stable, but there's some very simple things you can do to eliminate and reduce the amount of exposure from the vapor that's coming off of these fillings.
All right, so we're back to step number 1, which is to not brush your teeth anymore. No, you have to brush our teeth. That's the one thing we can. But first, you offer that we can avoid acidic foods, which are interestingly more effective at leaching out the mercury.
Now, these are tomatoes, grapefruits, wonderful, but the acidic content of these has been shown to increase the amount of mercury vapor coming off of fillings. Same thing with vinegars and America's favorite beverage, coffee, which is not only acidic, but it's hot. And so my advice is use a straw.
A straw?
Simple straw. Yeah. Sodas, coffees, a straw.
Can you all use a straw from now on? I mean, just in case. Plus, it helps with the color of the teeth anyway. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, next up, you've got a 1-2 punch. This is something you love, garlic and cilantro. I can think a lot of recipes with these.
This is my favorite area. These are such great nutritionals for the body for many different reasons. Garlic purifies the blood. It actually helps eliminate mercury through the kidneys. Cilantro is a wonderful herb. It purifies. It also purifies. It binds to heavy metals in the body. Cilantro is great in salads. I love to make a pesto out of both of these.
You know, it has a little bit of a soapy taste to it. But that's what my kids tell me, but I actually like the taste. It is probably the best natural product we can use to detoxify ourselves. But there's something else that is probably the best detoxifier of all. It's called a Chlorella Supplement. We don't normally eat this in its raw form, but you can take it in a supplement. Walk us through it.
I love chlorella. It's a freshwater algae, and it's one of the richest sources of chlorophyll. And chlorella eliminates mercury through the intestines. Right. So Chlorella supplements, I would recommend them. I think this is one of the best nutritional supplements for people with mercury fillings.
And where do you find them?
Any health food store.
Easy to find. All right, question. How far would you go to get back at your ex?